Okay, so good morning, everyone. You're here for the Western Women's Business Center on preparing for a small business loan. We're excited to have everyone. Like I said, I know it's the day after the election, so people might be trickling in, or, we did have 15 people registered, but I know it's a little bit of weird times out there and all of that, but happy to have you guys here. So I'm just going to go quickly over who we are at Western Women's Business Center. So Western Women's Business Center provides business development services across 24 counties of Western North Carolina. So we're headquartered here in Buncombe County, and we go all the way north to Boone, west to Cherokee, down to Rutherford Polk. So we do tend to get most of our clients in Buncombe, but we do serve all of those areas. So welcome. As you're coming in, if you want to put your name, well, not your name, we know your name, but if you want to use the chat to say what your business is and where you're located, that would be really great. And if you have any questions up front you want to make sure that I get to, you can put those in there as well. So what does Western Women's Business Center offer? So we offer one-on-one coaching. So if we're going through this today and you think, ooh, I really need a little more support on figuring out if I'm ready for a loan, what loan amount I might need, what my options are, or anything else with your business, we offer coaching on that, or marketing, financial planning, general business planning, operations, anything that you might need. We have a coach that has expertise, or we can make a referral if it's outside of our area of expertise. We are here for you. So I can put the information for how to request coaching in the chat and at the end, and we will be very happy to assist you one-on-one, and that's also at no cost to you, the one-on-one coaching. We also offer these types of business development workshops. So at least once a week, we're having a training on preparing for a small business loan, marketing for your business, operations. So please check out our calendar, which I'll also share the link to. If you got here some other way, like through AB Tech or something, we'll share the calendar just for Western Women's Business Center. And the last thing we offer is access to capital, which is what I'm talking about today. So we are a program of Carolina Small Business Development Fund, which is a nonprofit lender, a community development financial institution. So I'll talk more about that, but we do have funding available directly, or we can make a referral if there is another place that has a loan that would be better for you. I'm going to check the chat really quickly and see who we have. So Ramsey is here with Acupuncture Integrative Medicine Clinic, and has a recommendation that if you're experiencing stress, anxiety, depression, she can help with acupuncture and other services. That is great. I'm sure a lot of us are experiencing those things with everything going on in this moment. So that's really important. Thank you so much. And then I did just want to mention the impact of our work at Western Women's Business Center. So we've coached thousands of clients, provided coaching to over 4,000 clients, provided training to over 4,000 clients, coaching to over 600 clients, and helped over 100 businesses get access to loans at Carolina Small Business over $10 million. And we've helped people access even more other funding, not just Carolina Small Business. So we do that too, which we'll be talking about today. And then those loans have helped to create over 300 jobs in the region. So we've done all that since we opened in 2014. So we definitely have a lot of expertise to support you where you're at. Just wanted to check and make sure nobody's waiting. Okay. So today for this preparing for a small business loan training, I'm going to go over the types of small business loans and lenders, what lenders are looking for when they're going to approve your loan, and key takeaways. And I see lots of people taking notes, which is great. I'm also going to send these out, send these slides out and send a recording out. So, but feel free to take notes. That's great. Okay. So what is small business lending? Why do we have small business lending? So small businesses are the backbone of our economy. Most businesses are small businesses, and small businesses play just such a critical role in creating jobs, you know, fueling the economy, especially here in Western North Carolina. We have so many small businesses, you know, in hospitality and tourism, restaurants, just so many different industries that we support. A lot of health and wellness. I know we had the acupuncture business mention their business in the chat. We have a lot of health and wellness here in Western North Carolina, and that's been, you know, a big draw for this region for, you know, over a century. So small businesses are just really critical, and small businesses often need funding at different times, either to start their business before they are able to get before they're able to get income, to grow their business. Let's say you're able to start without funding, and you're getting to a point where you're just done all you can with the resources that you have, and you need additional influx of equity of cash to make sure that that you're able to grow your business or sustain your business in challenging times like we're in right now. Before I go on to the traditional small business loans, I do just want to mention the economic injury disaster loans. So if you're a business that has been impacted by COVID-19, there is funding available. I used to have a lot more things to put in this section. There might be more things coming. We know Washington has been busy with election stuff and politics and all of that, but there might be more economic relief coming that will include funding for small businesses. So we are a program funded by the Small Business Administration, the Federal Small Business Administration. So we have access to accurate information, sometimes direct funding. So when that stuff comes down and you're seeing in the news, there might be something available, you don't really know, we're a resource that you can come to. But for now, what's left, if you are a business that has been impacted by COVID-19, there are still economic injury disaster loans available through the Small Business Administration. It's an interest rate of 3.75, which is going to be lower than probably what you would get from a bank or from a community development financial institution like us, and it's up to $2 million. I will say that this is not forgivable. So there were programs that were forgivable loans, basically grants like PPP and stuff earlier in this coronavirus time. That's not available right now. It may become available again. So just want to put it out there. If you're already in business, you've had impacts by COVID, that's a good option. So Ramsey says, presently I'm offering pay what you can afford for any persons impacted by COVID-19. I love to support your well-being. Thank you so much. That's really, really great. I'm going to close the thing that's making all the chimes in the background. Sorry about that. I thought I closed everything I needed to. And just want to remind everyone to please, it does help to know what your business is and where you're at. If anyone else wants to put in the chat what their business is, or you can even unmute yourself and talk. Okay, so now we're going to go back to traditional small business loans. So I was just talking for a minute about funding available for COVID because it's a big part of what's going on right now. Obviously, now I'm going to go back to traditional small business loans. So traditional small business loans are available from banks, credit unions, community development, financial institutions like us. I'll go through a list of some of those in a minute. And they're usually funds, like I talked about in the beginning, to start, grow, or sustain your business. They can be used for working capital. So if your cash flow just isn't quite lining up and you need some additional funds to work with to make sure you're meeting your expenses while still making a profit, that's a really good use for a small business loan or a line of credit. It can also be used to purchase inventory or equipment. So this can be really important for boosting sales. Let's say you need additional inventory to make additional sales, to make additional profit. That's a great use of a small business loan. You need equipment to increase the amount that you're making. That's a great use for a small business loan. Purchasing of furniture or fixtures, or purchase of commercial real estate. And Katrina just chimed in that she has a barbecue restaurant. Equipment's very important. Yes, of course. That can make or break if you're in the restaurant industry. Definitely need to make sure you have the right stuff. And sometimes the stuff you have stops working, and you need that influx and support from a small business loan. And Tracy is just planning, so any advice is valuable. That's great. We're here for that too. Okay, so what is a community development financial institution? I'm going to go over this a little bit at the end too. But we are mission-based lenders that focus on economic growth, underserved populations like women, people in rural distressed areas where there's not as many financial institutions, people of color, all different underserved populations, and job creation. So we have a mission, whereas a bank's mission is to make money and make as much money as possible while also having a good reputation in the community and all of that. We're more focused on serving people who have been left out. So we are more flexible with approval and loan terms. So we're going to go through what it takes to get approved and where we might be more flexible than a bank. But a bank is always a good option if you qualify. We're just letting you know that if you don't, this is another option. So our local community development financial institutions are us, Carolina Small Business Development Fund, Mountain BizWorks is another big local lender, Self-Help Credit Union, and National Community Investment Fund. So we're all going to have different terms and products and all of that. So that's where the one-on-one coaching can be really helpful if you need support in navigating what's the best option for me, what's the interest rate here, what are the terms going to be, and comparing different loan offers. And because we are funded by the Small Business Administration, we can't just make a referral to our host organization, Carolina Small Business, and say, this is the best place to get a loan, come do business for us. We're really going to help you figure out what's the best place for you to get a loan and what's the best option for you. Any questions so far? You're welcome to put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Okay, so now we're going to go through the details of what a lender is looking for. So anytime you come to me at Western Women's Business Center and you say, I want a loan, I'm going to say, okay, let's look at your 7 C's is what we call them. And this is going to be true anywhere that you go for a loan. So those are credit, cash flow, capital, capacity, conditions, collateral, and character. And don't worry, we're going to go through each one of those. So credit, we know, is always going to be one of the biggest. When you go in for a loan, one of the first things they're going to say is, what's your credit score? And if it's below a certain amount, especially at a bank, they're going to say, sorry, you need to go work on that before we're going to be able to give you a loan. And why is that? So a credit report shows your reputation with lenders. It details your debts, including collections, liens, payments, non-payments. So everyone has a credit report. And it's what banks use to see, what lenders use to see whether or not you're a person that repays debt on time. So if you've had a loan in the past, it's going to, give that history. And if you're someone that has outstanding debt, so do you have debt that's gone into collections, like it says. You can access your free credit report once a year from annualcreditreport.com. There's 3 major credit bureaus, and you can get them from each one once per year. So it's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And from any one of those, you can get them at that website. Can I get a show of hands for who has looked at their credit report and score in the last year? Okay, I see Tracy raise her hand, Ramsey raise her hand. Let me look at the participants.
Yes, I have.
Good. I saw Kelly, Shelvia, Jamie. Wow, that seems like most of you. Good job. That's a great start. And so now we're going to talk about the credit score piece. So when you go get your free credit report, it's not going to have your credit score on it. There are sites that do, like Credit Karma, we'll talk about that. But the credit score is really the number that lenders are going to use to determine how likely you are to repay the loan. And like I said, if it's below a certain amount, they might be like, no, you need to go work on this. So these are the ranges of a FICO score on the screen. So 360 up to 850. Most lenders are going to be using a FICO score. There is a different score called a Vantage score. So if you go on Credit Karma, that's what it's going to give you. But that's really one of the only ways to get a free credit score is to get a Vantage score. Some other ways that you can, and that's, what you get from Credit Karma. Some people might have, like my bank is Chase Bank, and they give me my free credit score when I go on my online banking app. I think Capital One does that, Bank of America does that, Wells Fargo does that. So if you have a checking account at a major bank, you might also be able to get your credit score that way. It's a pretty crazy system because it's information about you that's important for you to know, but it's owned by the Fair Isaac Corporation. That's what FICO stands for. So it's a little frustrating, honestly. I see a chat, just 1 second. And the chat disappeared. That's strange. Sorry, guys. There we go. So Amanda says, not me. Amanda, do you want to say more? Oh, she hasn't checked her credit score this year. Okay, we can help with that. The last thing I'll say about knowing what your credit score is that be careful before you pay for a credit score. There's a lot of companies out there that are trying to get your money to help to give you your credit score. Most of the ones that charge, it's a hard pull, which can ding your score. It can make your score go down a few points, which is not good when you're looking for a loan. So just if you're having trouble finding a place to get your credit score, knowing what it is, come see us. And when you do apply for a loan, we will do what's called a soft pull to see, what it is in our system, what your credit score is in our system. And that's not going to ding your credit score. So it's a lot. I've worked in this field of financial empowerment where we help people, manage debt and credit and all of that for a long time. And even I can have trouble navigating some of this sometimes. So if you need support, you're not alone, and please come see us. So if you need help building your credit before you can qualify for a loan, I just wanted to show this breakdown of what makes up a credit score. So 35% of your FICO credit score is based on your payment history. So this is really, really, really important. And if you're having trouble paying your bills and prioritizing that, definitely always making those minimum payments is really key. And that's the bulk of it. The second is amounts owed. So if you have just bought a new house and a new car and you still, owe $300,000 on your house and $20,000 on your car, that is going to potentially decrease your credit score. So the longer that you pay off those loans over time, your credit score can go back up. But if you are behind on any payments and owe a lot, then that's going to ding your score. Another thing that goes into the amounts owed is what's called a credit utilization rate. So this can be important if you're trying to get credit, get a loan right now, is the amount, if you have credit cards, the amount of money that you have on those credit cards. So let's say you have a $5,000 credit card and you think, oh great, I have $5,000 in credit, it's good to use my credit, I'm going to go out there and spend $4,999 and pay it off right away, and that will increase my credit. They actually want to see you spend 20% or less of your available lines of credit, because it shows that, it's silly, but to them, it shows that you know how to utilize credit. You're not overutilizing your credit and you're not spending more than you have. So just a tip that keep an eye out on how much you're putting on your credit card, even if you can pay it off. And again, we're here if any of this is confusing or challenging. Any questions about credit before I move on to the next?
So is it normal for like on Credit Karma, I swear my score is higher than the score my bank gives me.
Yes.
So that's normal. Okay.
That's normal. So there's actually like hundreds of different credit score calculations. And it's frustrating because you never know which one your bank is going to use. Even within FICO score, there can be ones that take more medical debt into consideration than others. Like the algorithms it's just like, so you really never know. But a FICO score is what a bank is most likely going to be using. And that's probably what your bank is telling you. So it's really good to go with the one that the bank says.
Okay.
Not Credit Karma. Yeah. But Credit Karma is a good estimate if you don't have access to any other way to get a credit score.
Awesome.
And they're also just good. I haven't actually been on there for a while, but I think they're really good at giving you tips on how to improve your credit and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a good resource to use, even if it's just an estimate. So yes, totally normal. Any other questions? Okay. So next, most important is capacity. So after they say, what's your credit look like? If your credit looks good, then they're going to say, okay, are you the right person to run this business? What has been your experience running this business so far? Or if you're a startup, what's your experience that has led you to start this business? Have you written a business plan? How thorough is that business plan? If this is something you need help with, there's a little icon here for Western Women's Business Center Business Plan Workbook. There's a lot of different resources out there for this. Some people say business plans aren't useful anymore. You need a business canvas, or you need this different way to look at your business plan. For getting a business loan, a business plan is important. Most lenders are going to want to see that you've done the thorough work to think about all the aspects of what goes into your business. So our business plan workbook outlines what are your products and services, what is your operational plan, distribution plan, marketing plan, financial plan. And again, we're here to walk you through that if you need help. So that's what the capacity is. And that's basically the second thing that they're going to look at when you're applying for a business loan. Any questions on capacity?
Do you guys have that business plan workbook online, or do y'all send it?
I can send it. We don't have it online, but I can send it to everyone who's on this webinar.
Because I would definitely like one.
Nice. I'm just making a little note to make sure I don't forget. Amanda says she would also like one. Okay, we'll send it. And again, if you need support working through it or want us to review it once you have it, we're here for that. Okay, Ramsey wants it too. Great. So next is cash flow. We have a training coming up tomorrow on cash flow. So if this is something that's challenging for you, we're also here for this. So cash flow is what your income and expenses are typically over 1 to 3 years is what they're going to see. So if you have been in business for 3 years, it's great to show 3 years back what your income and expenses was for usually in 12-month periods. So, you know, for this year, here is my cash flow in and out each month. For the previous year, cash flow in and out. And then they also want to see projections for the future. I think it's especially important right now in this uncertain environment, which we'll get to in a little bit, that you're showing that you're accounting for any changes that might be happening with what's going on. So I know we have an acupuncture business and a barbecue business on. I know both of those industries are impacted by COVID. So being able to show that you're planning for that and adjusting for that is really important. So, you know, for the restaurant, how are you changing your expenses in addition to your income if your food sales are down? And Jamie also wants a business plan workbook. Sure. So that's going to be really important. And the other part that's important about your cash flow, we also have a cash flow forecast workbook that looks like this. The other thing that's important that you would want to put in there is your ability to repay the loan. So when you're applying for a loan, you want to show how it's going to impact to get the influx of whatever you're applying for, let's say $50,000, something, to show that influx income in this cash flow statement, but then also the repayment. So let's say you have $400 loan payments every month. Are you going to be able to cover that? How is that going to work? And Shelvia is opening a sober living home for women in Winston-Salem and would also like a copy of the cash flow workbook. Sure. I can send that. It's going to be a lot to work through on your own. I mean, not just for you, but for anyone. So happy to help you guys figure it out if you need that support. Any questions on cash flow?
So for me, I'm in the planning stages. So I am still getting ready to do my business plan. There's loans that would help with that initial cash flow as long as you can repay them.
Yes. So I'm going to get into this in a minute. It can be a little challenging right now, and there's definitely fewer loans available, less funding available for startups right now. That could change. No one knows what's going to happen. Maybe there will be a vaccine next month and everything will be over and go back to normal. I don't know. But In general, yes, there are loans for startups right now, not a lot. But you do have to be able to show a really solid plan for how you would be able to repay
Okay.
that loan. And it helps to have proven already, your ability to make sales, your market, all of that kind of stuff. So if the kind of business that you're in, if you're able to start in some scale, even really small, just to prove what we call proof of concept, that you have clients that are interested in, buying your product service, that can be really key. And there might also be ways I'm going to talk about at the end to get other funding to help you during that phase, like crowdfunding, stuff like that, other ways that you can get money to start up before you get a loan. Because
Okay.
you also want to make sure that your business is solid before you take on debt, because we're going to talk about collateral and all that in a minute. You don't want to default on the loan. You want to make sure for you too that you're going to be able to repay it. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other cash flow questions? Okay. So now is the conditions part. So normally in pre-COVID times, this would be a slide that we would kind of brush over, mention. Right now it is serious. So, we know that all businesses had to close down except, essential businesses for at least a month this year. We know that case numbers are going back up and we really don't know what's going to happen. So, I feel for everyone that has a small business right now, or that's thinking about starting a small business right now. So in terms of a business loan, what lenders are going to want to see is that you have planned for what to do during this time. So if you are a restaurant, did you adjust to doing takeout only before indoor dining was open? Now that indoor dining is allowed, are you doing it? Are you doing it safely? How has that impacted your numbers? And are you still able to, to show a profit at this time? How have you been able to do that? Have you had to cut back on staff? All of that kind of stuff. Same with, acupuncture. Are you getting fewer clients in? Has it, I know I got a massage recently and it was like a very different experience, with different equipment and, all of that, upping safety protocols. So, have you had to be spending more and doing more to make sure that you're compliant in this time? And are you still able to make money? I will say that many people who have small business loans through Carolina Small Business were able to get deferments on their payments for months that they were shut down and things like that. So lenders are, of course, understanding and willing to work with you during this time, and they still want to make sure that the loan gets repaid. So if you're applying for a new loan right now, they're just going to want to know that you have a solid plan and have shown, ability to adjust to our current circumstances. Does that make sense? Okay, I see a thumbs up from Ramsey. Okay, so normally, just to speak to what we would normally say on this slide, outside of the crazy times that we're in, we would talk about industry trends. So we have some resources on where you can look at this. Are you like the 100th craft brewery that's trying to open in Asheville, and is there still a market for that, for example? What does your competition look like? I think that's a good example. Like the types of businesses in Asheville where we know, and you know, if you're in other parts of the state, what might be that in your area. But yeah, what is the trends look like for the industry that you're trying to enter into, and does it make sense to open this type of business in this moment? Okay, so next is capital. So lenders also want to know that you have invested money in your own business, that you believe in your own business, that you, yeah, I'm seeing Kelly with your hand raised. Do you have a question, or was that up from earlier? Okay, and I assume it's from earlier. So for loans at Carolina Small Business, for example, oh, it's a mistake. Okay, no worries. So loans at Carolina Small Business, for example, they typically want to see 10% owner investment. So if you're taking out $50,000, if you need $50,000, they want to see that you've invested 5%, or sorry, $5,000, 10% into your business. And there's different ways that you can do this. We're going to talk at the end. If you don't have 10%, if you're not in a financial position to have 10%, we can talk about other ways that you can get that money from other sources that aren't from a loan. Any questions on investing your own capital? Okay. So next is collateral. So collateral is what you pledge as assets against the loan. This can include things like property, business equipment, machinery, inventory. So if you're a restaurant and you have a lot of equipment, this is something that you can use as collateral, which is great, because a lot of times, you know, if people are homeowners, that's the main asset that they have. And that's a really scary thing, to put your home up as collateral for a business loan. So if we can avoid that, we want to avoid that. But a lot of times that's the only option that people have. You can lose your collateral if you don't pay the loan. So that's the point of collateral, is that if you aren't able to repay the loan, that's something the lender can collect. And this is for banks, this is for community development financial institutions. I will say the good news is that there are some programs to provide collateral if you don't have it. So the SBA has some loan guarantee programs that you can qualify for. We can take you through this if you don't have collateral. There's also a program here for Buncombe County called Mountain Community Capital. So that is a program for people who their only barrier is that they don't have collateral. And this is a loan fund that will put up the collateral for you up to a certain amount. So just know that there are options if you don't have equipment, inventory, property, but you have all of the other things, there are still options for you. Any questions on collateral?
So you guys have the programs that can help people maneuver that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So if you are serious about considering a small business loan at this point, what we would do is schedule you for a one-on-one session where we would go through all of these questions with you. So, you know, what is your business? Do you have a business plan? How long have you had this idea or been in business? You know, what's your profit and loss if you've been in business? What's your collateral? You know, how much have you invested? How much more do you have to invest? All of that stuff, and look at your overall picture together.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do a time check. Okay, So the last C of the 7 C's is character. So this is really if you're sort of on the border and they're just like, I don't know about this person. This is like the very last thing that they would look at. And you'll see in loan applications, they'll ask you, what involvement do you have in your community or something like that, right? And if you coach Little League or serve on a nonprofit board or the PTA or, anything like that, they want to know that you're a person who's reliable, dependable, honest, experienced, all of that kind of stuff. And so it helps in your business plan just to say about you as a person, because I should have said in the beginning, when we are starting small businesses, running small businesses, and we are applying for a loan, it's almost always us as individuals that they're looking at, right? They're looking at our credit, our income, our character, and so this is the last, least important thing, but you don't have to go start volunteering now to qualify for a small business loan. But it is something that they're going to look at. What's your reputation in the community? And if you do have, something that there's a scandal or there's just something to think about, how to talk about it if you do have something like that. Any questions on character? Okay. Oh, thank you, Ramsey. Ramsey says it's awesome that we're available. Thanks for our compassionate work. Oh, that's so sweet. So the bottom line from a bank's perspective or a lender's perspective is, what is the risk in giving a loan to this person? Do I think that they're going to be able to repay it? What are the chances that they won't be able to repay it? Because there's always a chance that anyone won't be able to repay it, and is that chance of non-repayment worth the risk to me? So that's really what they're trying to assess when they're looking at all of this stuff, from the bank's perspective. So again, Carolina Small Business and other nonprofit lenders are going to be a little bit different than a bank. If you do qualify at a bank, that's great, but just know that we'll be a little bit more flexible. So with credit score, for example, we'll have lower standards for what the minimum credit score has to be. For Collateral, we'll be there to help you figure out what programs are available if you don't have collateral, definitely more so than a bank would be. And so these are just some of our clients from across the state that have gotten loans through Carolina Small Business. So food truck, restaurant, definitely a lot of restaurant clients that we've supported. And again, at Western Women's Business Center, health and wellness is definitely another big industry. Tourism, hospitality, we work across the board. So here is a new section that I did not have in this presentation before this pandemic situation, and that's what if I can't get a loan? I'm going to check the chat really quickly before I go into that. So Amanda says, I want to set up a program in my business with people in recovery and possible just getting out of jail. Should I set that up first before the loan? That's great, Amanda. And I'm not sure where you're located, but I know that there's really great programs for that here locally. I know Philip Cooper here in Asheville does, I forget the name of his business, but it's basically a staffing program for reentry. So people who are in recovery or people who are getting out of jail, that's exactly what he does to help connect them. Cooper Reese, Great. So that's exactly what he does, and he's worked with local businesses to connect people in those situations. I know East Fork Pottery has been a really big supporter and hirer of people from his staffing agency, so is always looking for partnerships like that. So that's great. So I would say you do not have to set that up before you get a loan if you're talking about, you know, how it looks to the lender to make sure that, you know, you're supporting the community and doing good things in the community. You should do that, you know, when it makes sense for you. You can always say that it's one of your goals, and happy to talk more about that. But that's really great. And that's one thing that I really love about working at Western Women's Business Center is that everyone that comes through the door is community minded. You know, no one says, I want to start a business and be a millionaire and my goal is just to make a bunch of money. Everyone says, you know, I want to give back. This is something that I think is important for my community. And it's just really, really great to have people that are so committed to giving back and lifting other people up and all of that. So thank you. Thanks for that. Okay, so what if you can't get a loan? So again, this is a new section that we did not talk about before because, to be honest, it is harder right now. Like I said, there might be more programs coming down the line to support businesses in this recovery time period. But we don't know. So to get a traditional business loan, it is more challenging right now. So what if you can't get it? So the first advice is to look at your financial plan again. This is also something we can help with. So if you're already in business, you need funding, you can't get it, are there ways that you can cut overhead or other expenses? Or can you look at your income side and think about your most profitable line of business or how to get more profit from your most profitable line of business? Can you focus on that? This is a really hard conversation to have, but I did just want to put it out there because there might be people in this situation. And then on the upside, there is ways to look for other types of funding. So these are 3 types of funding that can be available right now. Crowdfunding. So I think in this moment, like with what Amanda just brought up, that she wants to start a program in her business to support people in recovery and reentry from the criminal justice system. That's the kind of thing that people want to support. People that have money to give, want to support things that are giving back to the community. And I think that's a great kind of thing to put on a crowdfunding platform like Kickstarter or GoFundMe. I do think there are ways that we can position our business to show that we're meeting a community need that people are inspired to give their own money for. So I looked recently, I did another presentation just called How to Get Money for My Business, where I went a little bit more in depth on the crowdfunding and found some local examples, you know, where people were asking for $10,000 or more locally through crowdfunding and having successful fundraising campaigns. So just something to think about there. You know, there are a lot of asks out there in the world for different ways to give support and all of that. But I do think that many of our clients can position their business in a way that, like I said, people are excited and inspired to give funding. I've personally given, probably shouldn't even say that, but I've personally you know, given my own funds, my own personal donations to some crowdfunding campaigns on social media because I was inspired, because I wanted to give back. So the next thing is venture capital. So, you know, this is more for businesses that have high growth potential, which, you know, I'm not sure who else is on the line. So this may or may not be something for you. But locally we have Venture Asheville, and they actually just recently gave out micro grants to businesses that didn't fit that, but were serving an important community need. So Philip Cooper, who I mentioned, got one. Who else? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. A gentleman named Jay Hackett, who was starting a business that was like a memorial site for people who have passed, that was culturally sensitive to different cultures that we have in our region, which was really inspiring. So there are different types of funding out there. There's other grants that are available, that become available, that we put on our website and in our newsletter. One that's available right now is called Retool in the Seed. So this is a grant for businesses that have been impacted by COVID, but the requirements are very not as stringent as some of the other funding that's been out there. But you do have to be certified as a historically underutilized business. So you already have to be in business and get that certification, which is available to any woman-owned business or any person of color-owned business, and then some other categories, individuals with disabilities, that kind of thing. So just some things to think about. And again, these programs are always changing, and what's available is always changing, and you know, they're on deadlines and all of that, but we do have information available on what funding is there at any given moment. It also can be a good idea to look at grant schedules and plan out what you might want to apply for in the future, and just make sure that it is all on a schedule. This is a really interesting time because normally there's not grants available for small business. We have people come in all the time who say, oh, how can I get a grant for my small business? And we say, well, you can't really. There's not a lot of options because it's, you know, businesses are meant to rely on their own profits and all of that to survive. But in this moment, with, you know, economic uncertainty and economic impacts of what we're going through, there's definitely more funding available, even for businesses that haven't started yet. So we are here to help you navigate all of that, figure all of that out, and that's what our role is. So we just have a few minutes left. I put my contact information up here. I'm gonna put in the chat what our website is. Oh, it's also there, www.bcnc.org. The last thing I want to mention is this is not related to our topic today necessarily, but we do have coming up November 18th and 19th our annual Western Women's Business Center conference. So I'm trying to share the website for that, but not having success. Let me try one more time. So I'm really excited about this. The theme is Women at the Table Now, and we have really amazing keynote speakers. So we have Jacqueline Mims, who is part of the Hidden Figures team at NASA, speaking. We have Tracy Green Washington, who's a local social entrepreneur and just really inspiring, coming to speak. And we have Catherine Morisani, who is a financial advisor at Edward Jones. And so it's 40 speakers, panelists, presenters, mostly women, talking about how they got their seat at the table, how they got to their leadership position, how they were able to start their own business, fulfill their own vision for the community. And it's going to be really exciting. I know we've all probably been on a lot of Zoom webinars and all of that. This is going to be a little bit different because we're going to have, you know, engagements, dancing, singing, in addition to, you know, our amazing keynote speakers and breakout sessions. What else can I say? We also have a gift program. So anyone who comes, tickets are $15, and anyone who comes is also going to get a gift of their choice from a local small business or one of our presenters. So I'm going to put this link in the chat, and it's going to be a really, really great event. If you haven't been to our conference before, it's normally 300 people in person, you know, all connecting, celebrating together, all of that. And, you know, this year is a little different, but we're still going to make it a great event. So let me find the chat again and put this link in the chat. And are there any questions before we close?
On your last screen, what was your extension?
Oh, I'll copy it. Extension 108.
That's what I thought. I was like, so make sure.
Here, I'll put my whole contact, and I'll send these slides out after. I can send an email to everyone that's on here, so you'll have my information. Though I appreciate the note takers. I'm a note taker too, so that's really great. Okay. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute. Okay, I will email my info. I'll send it out to everyone after. Of course. I hope this was helpful. I want to be realistic, but not discouraging. If, you know, if you have a really great business idea, or you've been in business and, you know, you're looking for more funding, there are ways to do it. We just have to be a little more creative these times, or might have to be a little bit more creative right now. And no, you're not alone. You know, the whole country is going through this, and we're here to help. So we know that these are hard times for many, many, many people. But our mission is to support small businesses through everything that's going on, and we're definitely here for you. Okay. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and you'll be hearing from me shortly.